Welcome to Robinhood and his band of merry tips, where I steal techniques from published authors and give them to unpublished ones. This podcast is going to be a brief introduction of what I'm going to talk about in my podcast series. I'm going to go over some techniques which published authors use and I've picked up over the last 5 years writing, and I'm going to use concrete examples of how to illustrate them. They will include world building, prose, and description. That'll be the first 3 episodes. Following this, I'm going to give some general writing advice. I'm going to give a podcast on what I call taking off the training wheels, where you have pieces of advice you get given in your early years, and they're good for learning, but eventually you have to learn to tone them down. Following that, I will give a top 5 pieces of advice I've ever received and why they're important. Then there's going to be 2 episodes more on the psychological side of writing. One is going to be dealing with this request people make often is, I wish I had more time to write, and what to do in that case. And the second one's going to be something important I picked up along the way, which is writers versus readers. I originally thought writers and readers were very similar in mindset. They're completely different beasts, and it pays to be aware of this. Lastly, I'm going to do a mixing it all together episode, which is going to be me going over the first 5 pages of a short story I've written, and I'm going to just highlight line by line what I'm trying to achieve. This was inspired by me watching recently a chess video by a grandmaster, and just by him going over what he was thinking at different stages in the game, it just dragged up my general level of chess knowledge, and I think this would be helpful for beginners to intermediate writers. By way of disclaimer, I am not a published author. What I am is someone who's been taking writing seriously for 5 years, and I've improved a lot in that time. And I consider myself an intermediate writer. So I'm more like the 5 out of 10 type of writer. You may then ask, why should you listen to me? There's 3 main reasons. A lot of published authors may just be highly talented and not very good at relating back how they can do what they do. B, they simply may not have the time or inclination to do it. And C, this is going to be a way of me documenting my progress as a writer, so you'll hopefully be able to listen now and then listen in 2 years' time and see how my advice has changed, and that may help you in your journey as well. So again, this is going to be aimed at intermediate writers. It's not going to be a lot of hand-holding, and it may go over the head of some beginner writers. The main reason I'm doing this is I've improved a lot as a writer using free resources on the internet, and so this is a way of paying it forward and returning the favour. Secondly, I've reached the point where I'm running out of learning from these free resources. I think they sort of stop at about a 4 out of 10 and they expect you to figure out the rest. So I'm hoping to just lay another stepping stone people can step on their way to continue becoming a better author. So without further ado, I'm going to start my lecture series, with the first episode being on description.